Actually, it's funny, when I was over there in England a few months ago, I said to someone, they asked me the question about spiders, and I said, hey, look, don't worry about it. I came home and I was gardening, and I was on my hands and knees just pulling some weeds out of the garden, and I got bitten on the foot by a redback.
Oh, ouch.
And it was like a big green ant, just a boom. I thought, oh, you bugger.
Yeah.
And it just a little red mark on my foot, and I just ignored it, just kept weeding, and after about an hour I went inside and got a glass of water and just said to my wife, got bitten by a bull ant, and it's just, it's got a red mark, and it's still throbbing. And she looked at it, and where the red welt was about an inch round, was sweating profusely. And she just looked and she said, you've been bitten by a redback, not an ant. Oh, really? So I had another glass of water and went back and did some more gardening. So once again, people have got this paranoia about snakes, spiders and sharks, but hey, it's not that bad.
So tell me a bit about your business and how you help migrants coming over to Australia.
Well, my business, Global Pension Transfers, we specialise in pension transfers, pension advice, tax advice, basically helping people when they're coming UK to Australia, because there's a notion out there that some people over there will say, oh, you've got big problems when you come to Australia, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. There is a process and you've got to get things right. As long as you do things right, it's not such a big issue. There's too much of that. There's, if you don't do something now, it's almost as though you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Well, you should have a look, you should understand what the rules are. So what we try and do is talk to people, talk to them when they're in the UK. If they've arrived out here, still talk to them out here and say, well, okay, let's have a look at what assets you've got. Work out what assets they've got. What is the tax position that they're in? If they kept the assets in the UK, do they bring them over? What are the implications tax-wise of doing either or? And then from the point of view of superannuation, their pensions, most British migrants have got UK pensions. There is a rule in Australia which says that you technically are supposed to bring them over within 6 months of arrival. And when I say technically, there is a tax implication if you don't, but it's not the end of the world if you don't do it straight away. But most pension schemes, they can't refuse to transfer unless their deed says that once you've achieved a certain age, that there's a restriction, such as the National Health Service. If you've turned 60, the NHS will not transfer, which is a bit unfortunate, because most doctors at that age are still working. But most other schemes you can, and if they're a good scheme, get the money out. You've got to look at it from the point of view that, and the whole thing is, you pay tax in the UK, and this is the big issue that most people don't realise. If you have a UK pension, you move to Australia, when you retire, if you decide to leave your pension in the UK, you will pay tax on that pension for the rest of your life. So you'll have currency issues and you're going to have tax issues. If you bring the money over to Australia, when you retire, it's tax-free.
Yeah.
The other big thing is if you've got a company pension in the UK, which most people do, when they retire, they draw a pension. When they die, there's usually a benefit, a reversionary benefit goes to the spouse. That's normally 50%. When the spouse dies, it's gone. There's no more. The money reverts, whatever's left over reverts back to the scheme. In Australia, you have a tax-free income. When you die, your spouse gets the benefit, the whole 100% of the benefit, tax-free. When the spouse dies, it goes to the children.
Yeah.
Big, big difference.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of looking at what is important to the individual as to what's going to make them move in a particular direction.
Yeah, make it work for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what your business can do.
Exactly. And then once they're here, we talk to them and say, look, we want to set things up, make sure that you've got everything right. So my role, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure that their transition from the UK to Australia, from a financial perspective, is as smooth and as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about. And you're here with them. So it doesn't matter where they are, people, if they've got a problem, Clive, I've got an
Yeah,
issue.
they're straight on the phone to you.
Absolutely.